Oh, greetings, chums. I have chosen a smashing story today, entitled Mr. Jelly. Now, Mr. Jelly is written and illustrated by Roger Hargreaves, and it's published by Penguin Publishing. For now, though, let's get the story underway. Poor Mr. Jelly was frightened of everything and anything. At the slightest little thing, he would quiver and tremble and shake and turn to jelly. So, it's not really surprising to find that Mr. Jelly lives as far away from anybody that he can find. Here in the middle of a wood, miles and miles from anywhere. This story begins one morning when Mr. Jelly was asleep. It was a beautiful autumn morning. The sun was shining, the leaves on the trees had turned to a glorious red, and the wind stirred gently in the treetops. A single leaf fell gently from the tree right outside Mr. Jelly's house and quietly brushed against his bedroom window as it fell. Mr. Jelly woke with a start. "Oh, what's that terrible noise?" he cried. "Oh, heavens, the house is falling down. Oh, disaster, it's an earthquake. Oh, calamity, it's the end of the world." And he hid under his bedclothes, trembling with fright. After an hour, by which time he realized that his house wasn't falling down, and there wasn't an earthquake, and the world wasn't coming to an end, Mr. Jelly peeped out from under the bedclothes. "Phew," he said, "thank goodness for that." And he got up and went downstairs to make his breakfast. Mr. Jelly poured some cornflakes out of a packet onto a plate. Then he poured some milk onto the cornflakes. Then he went to the cupboard to get some sugar. Snap, crackle, pop, went the cornflakes in the milk. "Oh, goodness gracious!" cried Mr. Jelly, diving under the kitchen table. "Oh, dear, I hear guns! Oh, calamity, it's war!" But, of course, it wasn't. And, of course, Mr. Jelly eventually came out from under the table and ate up all his cornflakes. After breakfast, Mr. Jelly thought he would go for a walk. He was walking through the woods which surround his house when a worm poked his head out of the ground. "Morning," said the worm cheerfully to Mr. Jelly. Mr. Jelly nearly jumped out of his skin. "What?" he shouted. "Who's there?" And then he saw the worm. "Oh, good heavens, it's a snake! Oh, dear, a man-eating snake! Oh, calamity, I'm going to be eaten alive!" And he jumped up into a tree. "What a performance!" commented the worm, and went back into his hole. After an hour, Mr. Jelly felt brave enough to climb down from the tree and continue his walk. Eventually, he came out to the other side of the wood and into a field. Mr. Jelly glanced nervously around. It was an empty field. Or was it? In the long grass, in the middle of the field, unseen by Mr. Jelly, there was a tramp enjoying a sleep in the autumn sunshine. Mr. Jelly picked his way cautiously through the grass. The tramp, fast asleep, snored. "What was that?" shrieked Mr. Jelly. "It's a lion. I heard a growl. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, dear me, a lion. A huge lion. A huge lion with enormous teeth. A huge lion with sharp teeth that's going to bite me in two. A huge, ferocious lion with enormous teeth that's going to bite me in two, if not three." And then he fainted. All this commotion awakened the tramp, who yawned, stretched, sat up, and saw Mr. Jelly lying on the ground beside him. "Oh, dear," he said, for he was a kindly tramp. "Oh, dear." And he picked up Mr. Jelly and placed him gently in the palm of his hand. Mr. Jelly came to and sat up, rubbing his eyes. Then he saw the tramp's face looking at him. "Oh, disaster!" he screamed. "Oh, calamity! It's a giant! An ogre! Oh, gracious! He's going to have me for breakfast!" My," said the tramp gently. "You're a nervous little chap, aren't you? What's your name?" "Mr. Jelly," stammered Mr. Jelly. "I used to be nervous like you," said the tramp, "but I learned how not to be. Would you like me to tell you the secret?" Mr. Jelly quivered and shook and said, "Yes, please." "It's very simple," continued the tramp. "All you have to do is count up to 10, and then you'll find that whatever's frightening you isn't quite so frightening after all. Then he set Mr. Jelly gently down on the grass. "Remember," he said to Mr. Jelly, "counted 10, and off he went." Mr. Jelly thought that it would be a very good idea if he went home immediately. Back across the field he went. Back through the woods he went. He was walking through the woods when he stepped on a little twig. Snap went the twig. Mr. Jelly jumped twice his own height in terror. "What was that?" he shrieked. "That terrible snapping noise. It's a tree falling down. That's going to crush me to pieces. Oh, calamity! It's a crocodile hiding in the bushes, snapping its teeth. Oh, disaster! It's—" And then he stopped. He took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, he said, and saw that what had gone snap was a twig. "Ah, silly old twig." "Phew," he said. Mr. Jelly had almost reached his house when a leaf drifted gently down from a tree on top of him. "Help! Police! Murder!" he screamed. "I'm being kidnapped. Oh, calamity! Yes, ruffians with guns. They're going to—" And then he stopped, and he took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then he saw what had fallen on him was only a leaf. Nothing but a leaf, a stupid red leaf. "It works," he said out loud in wonderment. And do you know what? It did work. After that moment, Mr. Jelly became a changed man. Well, you can see that by looking at him, can't you? And he never shrieks or shouts or screams or quivers or shakes or trembles anymore. And he never hides under his bedclothes anymore. Well, not very often anyway. Well, wasn't that splendid? I especially like the part where Mr. Jelly learned not to be so nervous. I once used to be nervous like Mr. Jelly, but I paid a psychiatrist thousands of pounds to help me. Counting to 10 sounds much easier and cheaper. Anyway, don't forget, chums, to subscribe to my YouTube channel and tell all your friends about Mr. Toff. I hope you enjoyed today's book, and I'll see you again next time. Until then, toodaloo!